Hello and welcome back to Mind the Cracks, the podcast that helps landlords, homeowners and the property curious navigate the ever-evolving world of the UK housing market without losing your sanity. I'm Olivia Watts and alongside me is our resident surveyor, Liam Chadwick. How are you doing, Liam?
I'm really good, thanks, Olivia. I've brought my caffeine and my notepad with me today because honestly, trying to keep up with new regulations is like playing cricket in the fog. You never know what's flying your way until it lands in your lap.
I know exactly what you mean. And today we're tackling arguably the biggest reform to the private rented sector in a generation, the Renters' Rights Act 2025. It's officially law now, but I keep hearing from landlords, what does this actually mean for me? We're actually covering the Renters' Rights Act across 2 bite-sized episodes. In this first one, we're focusing on the main changes and what they mean for landlords. In the next episode, we'll dive into how landlords can work closely with us, with a practical checklist of actions and tips for being regulation ready.
The law's in force, but loads of the big changes are being phased in, so this is the time to prep. Understanding what's coming will help you to stay compliant, ensuring you know your rights as well as your tenants.
So let's quickly break down how these changes are rolling out, because the government's released a proper 4-phase timeline. Phase 1 is what we're in. Legislation's live, but mostly we're in prep mode. This means early government guidance and getting to grips with what's coming.
Then we move into May 2026, Phase 2, when the major changes really begin. On the 1st of May 2026, Section 21 no-fault evictions come to an end. All tenancies transition to periodic agreements and other updates, like the PRS database, start rolling out shortly after. If you're marking down key dates, this is a big one.
And don't forget the new Ombudsman requirements start rolling out late 2026 through to 2028. Longer term, Phase 3 brings the Raising Standards phase, Decent Homes Standard, a WARB's law for repairs, modernising hazard scoring, likely around 2030 and beyond, though dates are still up for consultation. And then Phase 4 is mostly for social landlords, but it sets the tone for the private sector too.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. There's space to plan, but my advice, don't leave it till the night before.
And look, just because a big piece of legislation comes into force doesn't mean every change hits overnight. What really matters is clear communication and taking things at a sensible pace. It's all about reading the actual guidance, not just the headlines.
Couldn't agree more. This is your window to prepare, update contracts, and look at processes whilst you've got the time to do it right.
Exactly. So let's dive into what these headline changes actually mean for landlords, starting with the most talked about, the end of Section 21. So, Section 21 no-fault evictions are on the way out, starting in May 2026. In its place, we're getting stronger Section 8 grounds if you need to regain possession.
Section 8 might sound alarming at first, but in reality, it's just a structured way to regain possession with proper grounds and documentation. Section 8 is the legal route landlords use to regain possession of a property when a tenant has breached the terms of their tenancy, such as not paying rent or damaging the property. Unlike the old Section 21 no-fault eviction, Section 8 requires landlords to have valid grounds and to follow a formal process, including serving the correct notice period. While it may sound more complicated, it's a structured and fair system that protects both landlords and tenants. For landlords, this means being organised, keeping detailed records, ensuring notices are correctly served, and being prepared to provide evidence if the case goes to court.
And then, probably the biggest change to everyday practice is that all tenancies are moving toward being periodic as the default. So, if you're used to the rhythm of fixed-term tenancies, 6 months here, 12 months there, it's time to start thinking in terms of rolling agreements instead. Now you can still issue a fixed-term contract at the start, but once that term ends, it will automatically roll into a periodic tenancy unless both parties deliberately agree to something different. For tenants, this offers a lot more flexibility. They're no longer tied into long periods before they can give notice. But for landlords, it completely reshapes how you plan things like void periods, rent reviews, and general portfolio management. Instead of counting down to end dates, you're working with ongoing tenancies that could continue for years unless someone actively decides to change course. It's not a bad thing, but it is a mindset shift, and getting your processes ready for that now will make life much easier down the line. Pets are another area that often causes concern for landlords. Under the new rules, blanket bans on pets are generally no longer permitted, but landlords can still set reasonable conditions, such as requiring pet insurance or specifying the types or number of pets allowed. It's important to update tenancy agreements to clearly reflect any pet policies, ensuring expectations are transparent and enforceable while remaining compliant with the law.
Someone once asked me what would happen if a tenant brought in a python. Honestly, I think the neighbours would have more to say about that than the letting agent.
I think everyone would just want the python to stay in its cage. All right, before we spiral any further into exotic pet territory, let's ground ourselves with something every landlord has to think about: rent increases. Under the Renters' Rights Act 2025, you'll only be able to increase rent once a year for periodic tenancies, and there's now a clear, structured process you'll need to follow. That means giving your tenants proper written notice, using the prescribed format, and making sure the timing lines up with the rules. The idea behind it is transparency, no surprises for tenants and fewer disputes for landlords. And honestly, it works both ways. It gives tenants stability, but it also gives you a predictable rhythm for reviewing your rents and planning your finances. Build it into your annual checklist, keep your paperwork tidy, and it becomes a straightforward part of running your portfolio. So, to wrap up today's episode, we've covered the big changes coming with the Renters' Rights Act 2025. Section 21 is being phased out. All tenancies are moving to periodic. Section 8 becomes your main route for possession, and rent increases must be done formally once a year. For full details on the Renters' Rights Act 2025, head over to legislation.gov.uk.
In our next bite-sized podcast, we'll be focusing on how landlords can work closely with us. We'll give a practical checklist of actions, tips for keeping everything running smoothly, and advice on collaborating effectively with your letting agent.
If you need any help in navigating these changes, we are here to guide you. Drop us an email or give us a call. Our property management team are always on hand to answer any queries and questions. That's all for today's episode of Mind the Cracks. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Stay proactive, stay prepared, and we'll catch you in the next episode.